All right, so I want to share the most impactful idea I learned at General Assembly this past year. And that is, are you ready? UUSB is not Google. So this thought is reflecting on how consumerism and the culture we live in, the relationships we cultivate to the companies that impact our lives, how that impacts how we show up in our communities here. So when I say UUSB is not Google, you know, when Google changes something, let's say it's about your email, right? What can you do about that change? Not a lot, right? They didn't ask you. They don't really care a ton because you're probably not a paying customer. They're just doing whatever it is they're going to do, and there's not a lot you can do about that, right? The most you can do is just walk away. It's just stop using Google completely, right? UUSB is not like that. Here, when we make a change, we're trying to collectively make the thing better. We have a lot of mechanisms where we encourage conversations between people, where we encourage constructive feedback, we encourage processes where we can make changes, we can adapt. If there's something here that you like, dislike, whatever it is, this space is for you, right? You get to make an impact. So this is switching from approaching UUSB or any of your nonprofit spaces, right? It's shifting from a consumerist mindset to the mindset of being a citizen, of playing an active role in creating, in this process of co-creation of our nonprofit spaces. I have seen personally working with different nonprofits that, especially for younger people who have had consumerism drilled into their experience, it is very difficult to acknowledge that it is real, possible, and something you can actually do to improve and shift and change our nonprofit spaces like UUSB. So what my invitation is to you is when you are here at UUSB and you are having some kind of feeling or thought or idea, check in and ask yourself, am I dealing with this as a consumer or am I dealing with this as a citizen of this space? Thanks.
I went to General Assembly last year because I had been on the Sunday Service Committee for about a year, and I thought I should probably learn more about UUism and try to figure this stuff out. And so I learned a lot about how to kind of create community and belonging in the worship space. But the story I'm going to tell is something that kind of happened even before General Assembly happened. So everything in life is on a spectrum. I am more on the liberal side of spectrums, but I see people who are even more liberal, and I roll my eyes. There was an email that was sent out before, a list of things to bring. And among those, they said, oh, reusable water bottle. Oh, reusable coffee cup, which I thought was because there would be lots of coffee urns around the hotel that you could just take some, like have your own coffee cup instead of using one and throwing it away. They didn't have coffee there. And then they also said, and fidgets. And I was like, why would you have to tell adults to bring fidgets if they need fidgets? And this entire email was just, to me, just virtue signaling. Look how good we are. We use reusable water bottles. We use reusable coffee cups. We have fidgets if you need fidgets. And I was complaining to Justine about this. And they said, well, it's more like for the fidgets, the people who need fidgets know they need fidgets. But this tells everybody else that that is a normal practice for some people. And so if you see it, it's just normal. So that is something that I took away, and I'm working on my own internal eye roll. And it helps me think about virtue signaling and also kind of about how this kind of gives me some perspective of people who eye roll at me.
I found myself being surprised a couple times at GA. I entered a session thinking it would be on one topic and found out that I had totally misinterpreted the title. So it was some unexpected delights. I went to a session titled Nurturing Authentic and Diverse Religious Leadership Thinking. As board president, this would be a useful skill to learn in order to develop leadership within our congregation. The session was led by Reverend Manish Mishra Marzetti out of Ann Arbor and Reverend Nancy MacDonald Ladd. Instead, it was about how congregations need to nurture and accept our diverse ministers and DREs. Manish Mishra Marzetti, a brown gay man, tells a story of being very sought after by a congregation. The community wanted to show how they held up diversity with that this family would provide. Yet, once he arrived, they were constantly telling him how Dave, the previous former white minister, had done things and how things should be done. They even discussed the color of the tie he should wear when preaching. We need to think about what are some of our unconscious biases. Are we prepared to welcome a gay female minister this summer? Are we prepared to allow diverse leadership to thrive in our community? Do we have biases that we aren't aware of? Will we be making comparisons to previous ministers? How can we be welcoming and co-create with this new minister? Do look at the chirp for how to sign up for GA. It's virtual this year, but there are some in-person events as well at different locations. We're going to organize a watch party the Saturday night of GA, June 20, for the Ware Lecturer, and it will feature Bishop Marion Edgar Booty this year, and so we can all gather together and watch that together. In the interest of time, we are going to forgo our closing hymn, and instead we are going to now extinguish our